Tonight, March 21st, 2026. An Iranian missile hits Dimona. Not Tel Aviv, not Haifa, Dimona. The city nobody was supposed to touch. The city Israel has never officially acknowledged for what it actually is, the hidden heart of its nuclear program. Walls blown out, a crater in the ground. A 10-year-old boy, hit by shrapnel, rushed to the hospital. And in the empty streets, the silence that follows an explosion, the kind that's worse than the sound. This missile has a name, Haj Qasem, and that name belongs to a man who has been dead for 6 years. A man an American drone killed on an Iraqi tarmac in January of 2020. A man Iran turned into a weapon. Once you understand why, you will never see this war the same way again. But to understand what just happened tonight in Dimona, you first need to understand what happened this morning, 6,000 miles away. Because this missile didn't fall by accident, it fell as a response. And that response just crossed a line that no one had crossed since the atom became a weapon. What you're about to hear in the next few seconds, no major news network has put it together this clearly, because there are 2 wars happening right now. The one you're watching, and the one you haven't seen yet. This morning, same day, March 21st, 2026. The United States and Israel strike Natanz, Iran's most closely monitored nuclear enrichment site. Bunker-busting bombs penetrate over 100 feet underground. The IAEA, the UN's nuclear watchdog, immediately calls for military restraint, warning of a potential nuclear accident. The world holds its breath. A few hours later, Dimona. Iranian state television leaves no room for doubt. These strikes are a direct response to the attack on Natanz. Natanz versus Dimona. Program versus program. And for the first time since World War II, 2 powers are firing missiles at each other's nuclear installations. We are no longer in an ordinary war. We are in something the world doesn't have a name for yet. Take a moment. Let that land. Because what comes next is even more disturbing. This war started long before this morning. 3 weeks ago, the United States launched a war against Iran. Here's what happened since. On February 28, 2026, at 2:30 in the morning, Trump announces the beginning of major combat operations in Iran. Among the first killed that night, Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, the Defense Minister, the Secretary of the National Security Council, the entire head of the regime, decapitated in a single night. 3 weeks later, that headless regime is still striking. It's striking Dimona. How is that possible? The answer will change everything you think you know about this war. And that answer comes down to a single name. A name engraved on the side of a missile. A name that belongs to a boy who, in 1963, had never seen a car in his life. You already know how this story ends. January 2020, Baghdad International Airport. A US drone fires. The explosion is total. Trump takes credit on Twitter at midnight. Iran swears revenge in front of the entire world. You remember that night. But what you don't know is who that man really was before America killed him. Kerman, Iran, 1963. A 14-year-old boy leaves his village on foot, alone, without looking back. He has never seen a car. He has never tasted a basic stew his family could not afford, food that every Iranian child knew growing up. His father has debts, and he is leaving to pay them off. That boy's name is Qasem Soleimani. 30 years later, this child of the dust becomes the most powerful man in the Middle East after Khamenei. Not because of his bloodline, not because of his money, because of a military intelligence that even his enemies acknowledged. He builds Hezbollah into a modern fighting force. He designs the network of pro-Iranian militias across Iraq. He draws the land corridor connecting Tehran to Beirut through Baghdad and Damascus, an Iranian highway of influence that no one saw coming. By 2017, he is the most popular public figure in Iran, with 78% approval. Worshipped at home as a war hero, feared by the CIA more than any general of his generation. And in August 2020, Iran makes good on its promise of revenge, in a way nobody anticipated. They name their new ballistic missile after the assassinated general. Not a monument, not a street, a weapon. Because Iran doesn't grieve. Iran strategizes. But that promise only meant something if the missile was actually worthy of the man. And what Iranian engineers built is going to surprise you. 870 miles of range. That's the distance from New York City to Chicago. Fired from Tehran, this missile reaches Tel Aviv in under 8 minutes. Not enough time to activate every interceptor. Not enough time to get everyone into shelters. 8 minutes from launch to impact. That's how long it takes to finish a cup of coffee. Think about that for a second. An Israeli father hears the sirens tonight in Arad. He grabs his kids, runs to the shelter, sits down, and waits. He stares at the ceiling. He doesn't know if the missile coming toward him was launched 30 seconds ago or 7 minutes ago. He doesn't know if it's going to be intercepted. He just waits. That wait is itself a weapon. And what makes that wait unbearable is that the Haj Qasem was specifically designed to have no predictable end. Iran's older missiles ran on liquid fuel. They needed an hour of preparation visible from satellite, enough time to locate and destroy them on the ground. The Haj Qasem runs on solid fuel. It launches from a truck in minutes, from any road in Iran. Tonight, while you're watching this video, one could be parked in a forest, on a mountain pass, in an industrial lot in Tehran, impossible to locate in advance. And its accuracy? Less than 300 feet of error across 870 miles. This isn't a missile anymore, it's a ballistic scalpel. Tonight in Arad, the Israeli Air Force has opened an investigation. One ballistic missile was not intercepted. 64 injured, 7 in critical condition. And the upgraded version of this weapon, the Qasem Basir, unveiled in May 2025, is even more dangerous. It guides itself like a heat-seeking camera hunting a target. No GPS needed, impossible to jam. Israeli electronic warfare systems no longer work against it. You can't blind it. You can only try to shoot it down. And sometimes you miss. In some configurations, this missile also carries cluster munitions. One projectile, multiple simultaneous detonations spread across miles. The defense system is overwhelmed before it can even calculate a response. Here's what no one on cable news has said clearly tonight. Iran is not trying to destroy Israel. What it's after is something more insidious, something bombs can't stop. And that strategy isn't just costing Israeli lives, it's costing New York, Houston, Los Angeles. It's costing you watching this right now. Tonight in Dimona, a 10-year-old boy was hit by shrapnel. 39 people hospitalized in Arad. Families in shelters for 21 straight days. Children waking up every time there's a sound in the night. This is not a statistic. This is what a society under constant pressure feels like, and it is exactly what Iran wants to produce. Not destruction, exhaustion. And while those families wait in the dark, another war is being fought on government spreadsheets. Here's the number no cable network ever mentions. Every Arrow missile fired to intercept a Haj Qasem costs between $3 and $4 million. Burned in seconds over the Negev desert. To put that in terms you'll feel, one arrow fired tonight, that's the annual salary of 30 American school teachers, gone in 8 seconds. The David's sling system, $700,000 per intercept. Iron Dome, $50,000. And during Iran's massive April 2024 attack, Israel's defense cost 7 times more than the attack itself. 7 times. Iran spends $1 Israel spends 7 to stop it. This is not a war of destruction. This is a war of accountants. And Iran is winning on that front. On some days since this war began, Israel's air defense system burns through $200 million in a single day. 200 million. That's the entire annual healthcare budget of several developing nations. Gone before sunrise. In New York, Houston, Los Angeles, nobody's watching Dimona right now, but everyone is paying for it. Here's why. Remember the electronics shortages of late 2025? The delays, the price spikes, the chips that were suddenly unavailable? Part of that was this war, and it's getting worse. Helium, the gas you probably associate with birthday balloons, is actually the critical component of the entire global tech industry. No helium, no semiconductor manufacturing, no MRI machines in your hospitals, no GPS satellites. Iranian strikes on Qatar's gas facilities have partially shut down industrial helium production. Your phone, the CT scanner at your local hospital, the chip in your car, all of it depends on a gas this war is cutting off. And the effects are already showing up in American supply chains. Component shortages, delivery delays, price spikes in electronics that began weeks ago and haven't stopped. But Iran knows all of this, and that's exactly why it names its missiles, because this war is being fought on 2 stages simultaneously. A military stage, the one you see on the news, and a domestic political stage, the one nobody explains. And it's that second stage that's running the whole show. March 18th, 2026, Iran's Revolutionary Guards proudly announced the first real combat use of the Haj Qasem missile. They don't release a military damage assessment, they release a name. Why? Not to impress Israel, not to convince Washington, to keep their own people standing. Khamenei was killed on February 28th, taken out on the very first night of the American-Israeli offensive. His son Mujtaba takes control of the regime. A son inheriting the throne of his father, killed by the same enemies his father spent his life fighting. And this son refuses all negotiation. No ceasefire, no compromise. With a population watching its leaders fall, its cities get hit, its economy collapse. They needed a symbol. And that symbol is a missile carrying Soleimani's name striking Tel Aviv. The message to the Iranian people is clear. Our dead are not dead. They are still striking. We do not bend. And that's where tonight's strike on Dimona takes on a dimension no media outlet has framed yet. Dimona is not an ordinary city. It is the symbol of the best-kept secret in the Middle East for 60 years. Israel has never officially admitted to having nuclear weapons, and that silence held for 6 decades because nobody had an interest in breaking it. Not Washington, not Europe, not even the Arab states, who preferred ambiguity to direct confrontation. And by targeting Dimona tonight, Iran has forced that silence to speak. The message is not military, it is existential. It says, we know what you're hiding, we know the address of your secret, and we can touch it. Natanz versus Dimona, program versus program, secret versus secret. And now, a question nobody dares to ask out loud, because it is too heavy. Soleimani is dead, the Haj Qasem is still flying. Did targeting Dimona just change the rules of nuclear warfare in the Middle East? And should the United States be preparing for what comes next? Drop your answer in the comments, and in 48 hours, we'll show you what Israel has never confirmed about Dimona, and why 60 years of silence is becoming impossible to keep.